Og da får de bare ta vekk bassen I basstrommelen da, så det blir klikking I stedet.
Couldn't have said it better myself. As of late Christmas night of 2025, 10,000 people have seen fit to click the big white button next to the channel icon. And I'd like to thank you all for that. When I first started recording these ramblings way back in 2017, I didn't think anybody would care to listen to them. So this episode goes out to all the true believers. It puts me in a state of mind to finally cover one of the bands that was most instrumental into making me the metalhead psychopath I am today, that being Gorgoroth, a band name that conjures up a lot of different things for a lot of different people. Some people, you say Gorgoroth, they think of the whole Black Mass incident in Poland in 2004 with all those severed livestock heads.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Pretty gnarly. Definitely something of a historical moment in modern black metal. Other people out there probably think more generally of everyone's favorite black metal gay guy, that being Gaul, and a particularly humorous interview he gave a while back.
Jump down, and then say some
Satan.
shit.
Satan.
Definitely lowest on the totem pole when it comes to my personal favorite Gorgoroth vocalists, but as far as zesty black metalers go, infinitely more respectable than that dork in Shining.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
And a whole lot of people are going to think about the Infernus v. King of Hell and Gaul legal battle over the Gorgoroth band name, which seems to have precipitated the onslaught of black metal lawsuits we are plagued with in this day and age. Most notably, Abbott versus the rest of Immortal, and Bart versus Christov in the heavily drama-laden Batushka fracas.
How embarrassing.
Personally, I think all that's a bit silly, and it's definitely not why I think Gorgoroth are so great. I believe I said in another episode that if someone says something sounds like Norwegian black metal, there's a chance that it'll sound like Darkthrone. There's a chance it might sound like Enslaved. There's a chance it might sound like Mayhem or Burzum or Immortal or Ancient or maybe even Arcturus. But there's like a 95% chance that anything described as Norwegian black metal is basically gonna be doing the Gorgoroth thing, okay? Gorgoroth, true Norwegian black metal. It says so on the cover of their second album, Antichrist, right at the bottom there.
Can you read, my son?
Well, that depends. Can you go fuck yourself?
And I believe that there's nothing pretentious about them making that claim on the first 4 albums. Okay, those are the good ones. Those are the ones that you need. I don't want to hear any chicanery about, oh, I saw the video for carving a giant on uranium. I thought it was pretty good. What do you mean? I thought that comeback album was really great. Why are you such a jerk?
Bar like a baby. Boo!
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Everybody knows in their heart of hearts that the first 4 Gorgoroth albums are the best Gorgoroth albums. And if for some reason you're one of these people that kind of skipped over Gorgoroth because all that later drama,
Oh, man.
I'm hoping that by the end of this episode I will have convinced you of the error of your ways. Or maybe you are aware of the fact that early Gorgoroth is pretty great. In that case, I'm hoping I might be able to point out some stuff going on with these releases that you might not have noticed before. Either way, back in Norway in 1992, a group of fellas got themselves one of them obscure Lord of the Rings names and started cranking out some black metal. Depending on how you look at it, they're either the very end of the first wave of Norwegian black metal or the very beginning of the second one. Wherever you put them at, these guys pretty much wrote the book on how to properly do Norwegian black metal. And they've got pretty much all of the ingredients necessary to do that on their first and only demo, 1993's A Sorcery Written in Blood. The way I see it, there's kind of 2 major things you need to make a successful Gorgoroth album. One of those is having your heart in the 80s, all right? You got to be down with the 80s black metal in a way that would make Gezal from Sabbath blush. And the third track on this demo absolutely demonstrates that, because it starts out like ultra primitive 80s style black metal riff, move it up a few frets for effect. But then when you get to the midpoint of the song, it goes even more 80s, like full on Venom shit. And at that point, it also helps to introduce another sort of sub-facet of the Gorgoroth sound in that your vocalist, no matter who it is, needs to sound really fucking nasty.
Nasty. Just fucking nasty, you two.
That's what I'm talking about. They gotta sound like a fucking freak. And then finally, when you get maybe 2/3 of the way through the song, you gotta have a big 80s black metal turnaround. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. I'd be moshing. I'd be picking up change if it wasn't true Norwegian black metal, you know. No mosh, no trends, no fun, no core, that kind of thing. But you got the halftime drumming, you got the big string bend, you got the chromatic riffage. Classic 80s black metal shit. But then we come to the other most important part of Gorgoroth's sound. Not only do you need to have your heart in the 80s, but to that, you must also add a touch of elegance, of sophistication. Which may sound odd, given that Gorgoroth is most famous for playing really disgusting sounding black metal and putting pig heads on pikes. But I think if you listen to the first full song after the intro on this demo, you'll see where I'm coming from. This one's called Sexual Blood Gargling, which is a pretty gross title, and it makes sense that when they did the full-length album version later on, they changed the title to Ritual, which fits the sound a little bit better. Which, as you're hearing right now, is some really rotten, decrepit fucking black metal. Whether it be during that blasting melodic intro or this more mid-paced part, but even with that, you're getting this sort of layered guitar work that Infernus, the guitarist, invented and perfected. That's what I mean by elegance and sophistication. Like this riff right here, it's very distant and nasty sounding, but it's also way more complex than pretty much any black metal you would have heard in the 80s. And this part coming up here after the transition shows that off even more. This sort of melodicism, which progresses into an even more regal construction for the song's coda. To me, that sounds very elegant and sophisticated despite the raw satanic trappings. Almost sort of a dark classical music thing going on. It's an archetypal Norwegian black metal sound, and it encapsulates all that I love about Gorgoroth quite thoroughly. Now, when it came time for them to put out their full-length album, a year later, they cranked up the nasty knob and the elegance knob in equal proportion. Gorgoroth's Pentagram, an album so black metal that it doesn't even need a pentagram on the cover, it's just got the logo! For a whole lot of people, this was their first really raw black metal album, and it is quite nasty sounding, although to my ear still rather pleasant. Also, these vocals. That's the same guy from the demo sounding even more disgusting. His name is Hawk, which in Norwegian means hate, okay? Not like a hat that you wear on your head. But check out this mid-paced part right here with the layered guitars then moving into those furious tremolo-picked melodies. Gorgoroth always had a very black and white, kind of rainy sound to my ears. And that goes double when they do these overlaid melodic parts like this one. Feels like a Kurosawa film. Absolute unrelenting deluge of darkness. So there's the savagery and the 80s style filthiness. But here's where the sophistication and the elegance comes in. Because with this transition right here, it's downright beautiful in a very dark and gruesome, savage sort of way. You get these multiple guitar layers that don't harmonize so much as they kind of careen over each other and weave in and out of the empty spaces between each other's notes. Absolutely spectacular. The final track on this album, Måneskigen Slave, is a candidate for both my personal favorite Gorgoroth song and possibly one of my favorite black metal songs of all time.
No bullshit.
Opening salvo is a pair of riffs that rank among the best melodic black metal riffs ever written. Here's part one. Now we're into part two of that pair. Really dark and nasty, just as majestic and elegant as can be, heading into the drum roll to bring us the nastiness. I gotta say, Pitten at Grieg Holland really outdid himself with the production on this release, particularly with regard to the drum sound, particularly during the slower sections like this. Although the fast sections are obviously rather powerful sounding too. The guitars have this weird strobing effect, almost feels like the sonic equivalent of old school film flickering. And now we're getting to why this is one of my favorite Gorgoroth songs, because this whole section coming up here, powerful vocals as only Hot can produce them, powerful guitar riffs as only Infernus can produce them. And it all coalesces into one of the greatest black metal riffs ever written. So fucking good, dude. Who the hell writes riffs like this anymore? Who the hell wrote riffs like this back then? If you don't like what you're hearing right now,
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
percussion here is absolutely perfect too, with these accents, then rolling back into the blast beats for the final, ultimate Gorgoroth first album riff. This drummer guy, his name is Goat. As far as I know, this is the only thing he ever did. He's also credited as a co-songwriter on several tracks on this release. So I don't know, hopefully somebody can track this guy down and get him to do some more stuff, because I think he did a damn good job. I think everybody did a damn good job on this album, including Samoth from Emperor, who was in fact the bassist. You see, a lot of this era of Gorgoroth almost feels more just like a weird project of Infernus as opposed to a band proper. And that goes double for the follow-up album from 1996, Antichrist. On this one, the only returning members are Hot and Infernus. Then they got Frost from Satyricon, aka the spooky guy on the airplane.
Boo! Haunted house!
On drums, doing an amazing job as always. But then, you also have guest vocals from a fella by the name of Pest, who you might remember as the vocalist for Obtained Enslavement. And he actually ended up replacing Hat and being the primary Gorgoroth vocalist on the two releases following this album. It's a real weird mix-up. But more importantly, this is candidate number 1 for the best Gorgoroth album. And because of that, also one of the best black metal albums of all time. And the lead-off track features another candidate for the best black metal riff of all time. We're talking Berg Trollets Heaven, or in English, The Mountain Troll's Revenge.
I got people on the inside who are double agents.
And already we can hear that Frost is going to be putting in some great work on this album. Definitely one of the best black metal drummers of all time. I don't think anybody disputes that. Now this right here isn't the all-time best riff that I was talking about, although it is a good one. I'll point out that riff when it does happen, but part of the reason it works so well is the build-up to it, which is what we're in the midst of right now. Also, Hot's vocals right here, I actually thought this was Pest for years, because he sounds a lot like Pest, which is always a good thing. Anyway, here's the riff. Sorry, reflex, had to do it. Listened to this song too many times over the years. Like, bro, you hearing how sick this fucking sounds? That is true Norwegian black metal. And the follow-up riff, or should I say the follow-up set of interlocking melodies, because there's a whole lot going on here, is also absolute 10 out of 10 type shit. Honestly, in terms of being a melodic black metal guitar player, this album may in fact be the peak of Infernus, particularly on the song simply entitled Gorgoroth. This one really leans into that black and white 1930s universal horror movie type of feeling, with this repetitive droning but not in a bad way type riff. And it's also worth noting that Infernus himself plays bass on this album in addition to the guitars, and as you're hearing right now, he does a great job doing some real melodic shit, very prominent in the mix. And here we go, this part. I gotta think this particular ambient black metal riff was a major influence on Dagon's work in Inquisition. It might even have been the riff that caused him to jump from thrash metal to black metal. And here comes a prominent new element of this release, that being some very well done, clean vocal work. Mournful, almost kind of shell-shocked sounding. Absolutely fits the vibe that they're going for during a part like this, which is some of the best ambient Norwegian black metal you're gonna find outside of Burzum. Check out this big bass hit. Fucking nice. And then into another prominent element of this release, that being some amazing lead guitar. That's right, motherfucker. This album has solos. It has really good solos. that do not take away from the evil black metal feeling at all. In fact, they enhance it considerably, particularly during the second half of the self-titled Gorgoroth song. Also, this riff obviously is fucking sick, but hopefully I didn't need to tell you that. And Hat's vocals on this album, not quite as insane as they were on Pentagram, but very evil in their own way. And check out this tapping shit. This is some fucking crazy black metal shred guitar stuff that, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't take away from the black metal feeling at all. In fact, it very much enhances it. It's that integral heart in the 80s component that has always defined the best of Gorgoroth. Taking stuff from 80s metal and reinterpreting it in a new black metal sort of way. In this case, being some crazy fucking Eddie Van Halen shit. And the clean vocals going back and forth with the harsh vocals right here, really fucking neat stuff. And that's why Antichrist is a candidate for the best Gorgoroth album and a candidate for the best black metal album of all time. The follow-up, Under the Sign of Hell, also falls into that category. For some reason, this album seems to be somewhat underrated by the Gorgoroth devotees. And when they got back together after the lawsuit, and Furnace actually re-recorded the album, which I find to be somewhat disrespectful, because this release features one of the greatest drum performances by one Erik Grim Brodreshift, a man who decided to tell God, "You can't fire me, I quit," if you know what I'm saying.
I'm gonna be hanging from the back row!
Back in 1999. And his original drum performance is a big part of what gives this album its signature hostile feeling, particularly on the opening track, which sees the reintroduction of very filthy 80s styled black metal in spectacular fashion. Like, Jesus, dude, that's gotta be the most hateful fucking snare sound in the history of music. And the vocals here are fantastic too. Pest being one of my favorite black metal vocalists, along with Oldfron from Godheimsgard and Zyklon B, and Henke Force from Dawn. But just check out all the cool drum shifts going on underneath these two-finger hammer-on pull-off riffs from Infernus here. Like this drum beat right here. Fuck yeah, son, Eric, may you rape the angels, etc. And it totally fits the super 80s black metal feeling Infernus' riffs are providing. But then we bring in that sort of elegance and sophistication with this almost military march, and his drums work great with that kind of material too, matching the martial feeling of the riffs, with Pest howling out all kinds of damnation to bring us into a big build-up riff. Very Celtic Frosty, Hellhammery type shit. And also destruction of the infernal overkill and eternal devastation varieties. This album features yet another candidate for my favorite Gorgoroth song. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, this is my favorite Gorgoroth song, and one of the best black metal songs ever. Talking about Prophetens Offenbaring, or The Prophet's Revelation.
Scared me. I know I'm not allowed to touch the actual body of the magnificent carnage.
Simsalabim.
Vocals on this one absolutely steal the show. Some of Pest's best, and that's saying something. As much as I loved Hot's clean vocals in the prior album, I gotta say, I like Pest's even more. Absolutely fitting the semi-folky riff, and then watch the transition here into the harsh vocals. Fuck, that's intense. This whole song feels like some kind of long-forgotten evil folk song. At least it does until they decide to thrashify it right here. You know, Frost may be a more technically adept drummer than Grimm was, but something about Grimm's particular style is just absolutely essential to make this album work in my ears. And then they bring the melodies back in with the clean vocals right here, and that fucking double bass absolutely booming in the background. Black metal perfection. You know, they probably could have gotten away on just fading out on this part. Like, this could be the end of the song. For any other band, it would be. But Gorgoroth, they're like, oh no, we gotta hit you with some more crazy shit. Even more evil melodies. There we go, that's the good shit. That's hitting fucking hard, son. Prophetens Offenbaring. I'm probably alone in having this as my favorite Gorgoroth song, but I gotta be honest with you folks. I don't know if black metal gets better than that. Under the Sign of Hell, go and get it if you don't have it already. The original version, not the 2011 re-recording. Don't be a fucking poser. And from there, we get to the final Stone Cold Gorgoroth classic, and also the messiest fucking album they ever did, the most project-like one, because it's got a different lineup on almost every track. I'm pretty sure this was recorded at multiple different sessions and was cobbled together. Destroyer, or About How to Philosophize with the Hammer. Little Nietzsche shit going on there. This is also the first album since Pentagram where Infernus has had a consistent songwriting partner, that being a new fellow by the name of Tormentor, whose soul is probably even more in the 80s than Infernus's is. Because all the songs he gives to this release are like Von-influenced, hyper-minimalist, black thrash chaos. Particularly the opening track, Destroyer, which is also the first time that Gall ever showed up on vocals. Starts off very Von and ultra-minimalist chaotic sounding.
Jesus.
And then from the murk emerges an 80s style black thrash riff, which then proceeds to take on sort of a cyber-fascistic characteristic reminiscent of the second Impaled Nazarene album. This track in particular utilizes a drum machine, not because they didn't have access to a drummer, but I guess because they felt that the mechanistic nature of this riff called for it. And that sort of material is definitely spectacularly filthy black metal, but the best material on this release has to be the Infernus penned tracks, which pick up right where Under the Sign of Hell left off. My personal favorite, Open the Gates, features perhaps the best utilization of dual guitars in the whole Gorgoroth catalog. Great sort of ambient, floaty, droning kind of riff. And like I said, they did have a drummer for this album. They just choose to use a drum machine on that one track. Anyways, the double guitars here. Or honestly, more like triple guitars, because the left channel is two harmonized lead guitars, and the right channel is this cyclical, evil, waltzy riff. Then it all coalesces, and you get Pest on vocals, aka the best Gorgoroth vocalist, don't at me. And they're just bringing you the most evil-sounding Norwegian black metal riffs.
The cream of the crop! Nobody does it better.
Infernus's playing on these first four Gorgoroth albums is one of my own biggest influences when it comes to guitar, right up there with Argosland, Peste Noir, and of course the classic Tone Iommi stuff. And then you get the big booming, mid-paced ambient riffs with their doom-doom timpani, innovated by Dark Throne on the Under a Funeral Moon album and perfected here. And of course, the ambient black metal riffage is some of the highest quality shit this side of Burzum, because it's Gorgoroth. Its first 4 albums, Gorgoroth, and it's like the best shit ever. Hopefully, I managed to convince you of the truth of that statement today. But hey, even if I didn't, you're wrong. But thanks for listening or watching or doing whatever the fuck you did anyways. Appreciate the 10K subs. I'll try to keep cranking out quality material for you as long as I'm alive, and I'll see you around.
Damn! He ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3.